to talk about some things you should absolutely be afraid of or scared of. And you might be surprised in what mine is, but I'm going to start with Dan. What do you think we should be?
Well, you know, one thing I have an international audience, and the one thing that's really interesting to me right now is food shortages and the seriousness of these farmers globally. And it's everything from people that own wineries in Italy to people that grow wheat. They are seeing such a drop off in the crop production, and they're seeing a drop off in just the health of the crops too. So if you don't think that we're going to have a grain shortage in 2023, you're kidding yourself. Pastas, breads, everything that's made with grain. I think that's the beginning. I think people need to stock up right now. We've talked about this, and you know, you don't need to go spend $10,000 on food. You just need to have a backup supply right now, to say the least.
If you don't mind me jumping in, every time we talk about something that is very scary and something you need to do, we also, as businessmen, we also see opportunity. And let me give an example about wineries in Italy. In 2018, the economy was actually coming apart. In 2019, it hit fever pitch right before COVID started. I was crushing it in real estate because my brokerage actually took advantage of the fact that wine sales were collapsing, and we were taking wineries, great family-owned wineries for decades, and selling them to pension funds and giving these winery owners that they were about to go bankrupt because the price of grapes was collapsing, right? Because nobody was buying wine. The actual economy was crashing in 2018. People don't understand that. And we saw an opportunity, and we said to these farmers, hey, why don't we sell your property to a pension, and then you get to work the land for the next 10, 20 years. And their eyes just bulge out of their head. And it sounds funny because Dan's telling you something that's very serious. Yes, you need food because it's going to get very serious. But we're also businessmen that actually see opportunity as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, use fear as a motivator to do something and get ready. And then once you're ready, you're done. Once you have your food storage, like Dan says, you're done. All you have to do is sort of rotate it to make sure it doesn't spoil.
Eat off the front and replace it in the back.
You know,
Exactly.
one thing that I talked about with Lisa, and the situation with Lisa with prepping her house, was we had supplies, whether it was dry goods, wet goods, water bottles. We had everything there. And the nurses would say, hey, I need you to buy this stuff for me and bring it in. And at first, you know, people were going out and getting help. I'm like, guys, we had all this stuff here in the house. Yeah. So finally, we sat down, and the nurses loved it. They go, do you have this? And they would make the list, and we'd go to the garage, go to the storage cupboard, and bring stuff out. And they're like, oh, this is amazing that you guys have all this stuff. Wow. And it just really did save time, and it really was helpful. But it was something I talked about even before Lisa passed. I talked about this, about how we had all this stuff backed up, and it was really nice to have all that savings in case something happened.
Before we go too much further, grain and food shortages was your...
That's the first thing.
A big thing to be aware of.
I think that there's so many things, and we've talked about this to where when I laughed, it was there's so much going on. There's such a huge banking problem. There's such a huge problem with our money. There's such a huge problem with food. But when you look through history, which none of us, history sucked. Nobody wants to sit there and talk about history. But when you look at things like the Great Depression, you look at the 70s when we had shortages, gas lines, and things that we went through with that, and the spike of inflation, and then the dot-com bubble, the 80s. I mean, I could break this down year by year. And then you look at 2006, 2007, everything points to a repeat, but tremendous amount of wealth was made during each of these markets.
Can I jump in with number 2 thing to be scared of? Because I think this is going to be along the lines of what Dan's talking about. Let's talk about banking. One of the things you should be afraid of is the banking sector collapsing and banks doing what's called a bail-in and taking part of your money out of your account to make them solvent. And just they will give you worthless shares. Now, this was already proven to work in both Greece and Cyprus. That was the Petri dish, the experiment of the world.
Go back, expand on that a little bit, because the shares, think about this. Let's just say you have $100,000 worth of money, and you have $100,000 in your bank. Mm-hmm. And they say, hey, we're going to give you shares that are going to be worth $10 a share for your $100,000. Aren't you lucky? You're a stockholder now. Well,
right
these
now,
prove themselves to be
people that are over 250,000 right now.
Okay.
It does not mean they won't change it.
But the point is that it went to a point that that it could be people. I've heard that people should be worried if they have over $5,000 in the bank right now. And again, you can't pull out all your money, and I understand that, but we don't know. What's the number, guys?
All right, well, check this out. This is an opportunity that I made a lot of money from, and this actually dates back to 2015.
Wait a minute, I'm getting hijacked here. So what's your thing? What are people
Yeah,
need to
we're
be
gonna
scared of?
the banking system. So,
you're the banking system.
Yeah.
All right.
So you need to be afraid of a bail-in. So wait, this is going to be really good. So Dan and I have been covering this on our channel for quite some time. As a matter of fact, Chris and Stacey did a video about a week after I did a video about separating your money, and they literally said this, and I quote, "That may be a California issue because that hasn't happened here in Louisiana." As far as being limited on the amount of money that you could take out at any given time, and I think it was Stacey that went down to the bank and asked for a certain amount of money, and they didn't have it. Now check this out. Now let me explain something. So this has actually been going on since 2014, 2015. Let me show you how to exactly like I said. We see opportunity. So one of the solution for this problem. Sometimes you want to have enough cash on hand to deal in your house to deal with a month's worth of expenses if there's a massive catastrophe, right? Or earthquake or tornado or something, right? But then you have multiple bank accounts in different types of banks. Now, let me give you an example how I made a ton of money in 2014, 2015. I was flipping park model trailers with my best friend. We were making literally probably, I don't know, $250,000 a year in cash.
What's a park model trailer? Say that.
It's like an RV trailer, but it's more intended for staying in RV parks for long-term living, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Single wide?
Single wide. It's got windows in the
you pull it
front,
with
a
a
couple
truck?
slide outs. Yeah, you can pull it with a normal truck. And we were selling literally
I
probably
didn't know this.
5 to 10 a month. We were killing it. As a matter of fact, at one point in California, we owned every park model used in the state of California. Now check this out. During that time, there were issues with banks where you could not go in, and I was buying trailers from anywhere from $1,000 to $15,000 cash. You could not go into a bank and I would say, I've got $100,000 in my bank account. Hey, I'm gonna go buy a trailer. I need $10,000. And they'll go, we don't have that much money. See, it's been a slow burn. They're trying to get you ready for this currency correction where they're going to turn everything digital. They want you off of the dollar. They want to make it difficult. They want to charge you for withdrawals. Me being the more savvy businessman that I was back then, I had multiple bank accounts. And all over the place, there were people I would call, a trailer would be for sale. It'll say it was $20,000 bucks. And I said, hey, look, I don't want to insult you. I want to offer you $10,000. They go, well, we've already got someone coming to buy it tomorrow. I said, no problem. If they don't come and buy it, my offer's good. And literally a handful of times people would call, the seller would call and go, the guy can't get the money. Do you have cash? And I go, yes, I do, because I had multiple banks. And even sometimes I go to a bank, say, I need 10 grand. They go, we don't have it, but we have 5. Okay, give me the 5. Go to the next bank, give me 3, give me 2. Now I got my 10 grand. I went and got the trailer, and I sold that trailer for 20 grand. An opportunity. Why? Because we were prepared and we had multiple bank accounts. So in my situation, where I'm telling you, you need to be afraid of the banking system, one thing you need to do is have some cash on hand and have multiple bank accounts, so that when one goes down, one doesn't have the money, or literally we have an economic collapse or a banking holiday, you go, not every bank is going to be affected in a banking holiday. It's never happened in history where every bank in a country is insolvent. That's literally never happened.
But you can't be in every bank. That's the problem. And
Yeah.
and one thing that I always talk about is making sure that you're on the same page with your spouse or your partner or even yourself. You need to really not kid yourself. If your finances are upside down, that's one thing you need to do right now and work on that. And Stacey and Chris are really on board with each other. I love talking to them both at the same time because they really are a team when it comes to finances. And a lot of people aren't like that because it's difficult conversations. It's not, nobody wants to sit there and worry about what you're spending.
One of my things to be afraid of is marrying wrong.
Yeah.
Marrying the wrong person will set you back a decade.
I talked about this twice today. I had a woman that wrote me and was just furious that I told her, I just said, and she said, you said it to my fiance, but I just said it on the channel, and that, if somebody's got a tremendous amount of debt, they're not a good life partner unless they have a plan to fix that and how they're going to correct it. And the woman had almost $340,000 in student loan debt, and her fiance said, hey, we shouldn't get married because of this. This is going to be a killer for me. And she had a job as, I believe it was a social worker, that she could not make a lot of money, and I don't know how she'd ever pay that in her lifetime. And again,
Marrying your doom.
yeah, marrying your doom.
Let me ask Chris a question, because that's a very real fear that you should be afraid of. But let's say you married someone wrong. There are a lot of people out there that feel this way. Trust me, I've been there. So I want to ask you, because I have an answer to this, but I want to ask you first. You feel like someone's watching this and they feel like I married someone that is on the total opposite plane. I'm in trouble. Like, I see things they do not. My spouse does not.
okay
What do you do?
It's okay for you because you're way on one side of the spectrum and she's on the other, and y'all kind of meet in the middle sometimes, and it's okay. A lot of times, people don't even have that.
Yeah.
They don't have somebody. They have somebody that wants to rack up credit card debt every month. They have somebody that wants to just
Shop.
That's it.
Buy crap.
No thinking for the future. And that was another thing that I'm really afraid of is debt. Owing people at 20% interest, 21, 20. There is no investment.
That's
that we
good
can
too.
make.
Can I give you a good word about that, actually? Because I actually, in my family, has dealt, not my close family, but extended family, have dealt with married couples that one spends erratically and the other one doesn't. Now I'm not a financial professional, I'm not a legal authority, tax authority, go get the right information. But you have to remember, when a contract is signed, it's the person that signs it. Now, it sounds crazy because there's a lot of states with all these crazy laws and stuff, but I've been hearing a lot of people that have done a lot of research, and when one person goes outside and starts racking up debt on their own dime, there are a lot of creditors that go, hey, sorry, you owe it because you're married. And there are people that have actually fought it and said, whoa, 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 where's my signature? I did not do that. That person acted independently, and they've won. So I want to give you some hope. Start to do your due diligence and research, and don't always believe the creditors. Go and get the right legal advice, because I have personally seen, and I've actually been witness to people that have actually been able to walk away from complete mortgages because the way the mortgage was done with the signatures was not legal. So just because you may have a spouse out there that is out there recklessly spending, do your research.
No, great. It's a great point, and that is that here's the thing that people don't want to do. And one thing that I recommend is that you have, tax day is in April, okay? And people sit there and say, oh, I have to worry about my tax. March, end of March, honey, we'll start worrying about that. No, what you need to do is you need to have a year-round tax plan, and you need to have a year-round financial plan, and you should see your accountant at least twice a year. Outside of that, just to make sure you're on board, and that's a big deal because think about how inexpensive that is. I've done this with my accountant, and he's like, hey, you're following your own advice. And I saw him in December to talk about the game plan for 2023, and he was making fun of me because, hey, Dan's taking Dan's advice and coming in here and seeing me, but you have to do that. And the other thing is that, have these conversations. They're tough conversations with people as far as money. But man, oh man, I just think that people need to really understand that there's tough times coming with these banks, with retailers. I just covered, Nordstrom's could close stores, guys. You know how serious that is? You're going to see Kohl's. You're going to see Five Below, which, think about this. Five Below last year opened up more stores than anybody else, and they run the risk of stores closing already in 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I jump in? Because Dan brought us to number 4, the fourth thing you should be afraid of, and that's taxes. And he brings up a great point, because you should fear taxes, and this is why. Every dollar you spend towards taxes, that is a dollar gone. If you learn the tax code and the ability to legally write off things in your life that you do, but you just have to organize your life a certain way, whether it be a business, an entity.
Like an LLC.
It is insanely simple.
There's all these ideas.
Yeah, but
again,
every dollar, if you don't mind, every dollar that goes to tax man, that is a dollar that is no longer in your pocket. So now think about that. Every dollar you spend that you could get a write-off, you'd get your tax rate back in your pocket. That is the fourth thing that you should fear, is taxes. And I mean that in an encouraging way. Dan and I and Chris, we're all businessmen. We all have owned multiple companies. And the reason why we own companies is because we understand the tax code. Now, we're not all perfect, but we understand the value of every a penny saved is literally a penny earned.
Yeah,
Sorry,
absolutely. No problem.
Hang on. I've got one thing.
We're all fired up. Oh, number 5.
Actually, I've got number 5 and 6,
Cinco.
but I'll start with 5. It just hit me when you said we've all owned several companies. Fear of failing. That's probably the biggest one for me. My failed business, which was the gym rat. I developed the ultimate squat rack, and it still is to this day.
It is an amazing piece of equipment.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
You cannot make it here and make money. You cannot make it in the U.S. and make money. Yeah. But what the squat rack gave me was everything else. There's only learning opportunities. So the fear of
failing,
going out on your own and failing is not an option. You need to fail. You need that. I'm telling you, I needed it in my life. That's how I know these guys.
Right. Don't listen to people, because if you go to listen to people that will say, oh, you can't do that. Nobody's going to buy that. Nobody's going to do what you're going to do. No one's going to buy your book. No one's going to buy your class.
You're probably listening to a failure that never succeeded.
Right. And you guys want to join the biggest team in the world? It's called quitters. It's called people that quit and didn't do anything with their lives. That's the largest team in the world. And you can join that team. It's the easiest team to join. You just don't do anything and you give up on your dreams. And, I tell my kids these 3 things: that you can do anything in this world, never give up on your dreams, and don't take any crap from anybody. And it's our mantra, but it's really true, because people just don't want the extra effort, and they don't believe that they can do it.
I agree. Totally agree.
So, but as far as the tax thing, the one thing that I always tell people is, when you have these pre-tax appointments, you really do save money with this. And by getting some advice, all it's going to do is save your money, because there's things that I think here's things I can't stand. I can't stand energy costs. I can't stand knowing that it costs you double to heat your house this year than it did last year. Where does that money come from? And also, that is wasted money. You might as well throw it out this hotel room window. It's horrible. And then property taxes. I hate property taxes. These cities now that are broke, that have their infrastructure completely broken, are out, and they're raising property taxes, sometimes 3 times the amount of what people paid last year, and people live in the same house, and the property taxes go up.
Where we live, where I had my rental properties, the school board had a thing where they wanted to raise property taxes 3x.
3 times, guys.
I don't even have a kid in school.
I understand that, but
and I had several rental properties. It's like, wait a minute. I mean, that could have been a big deal.
That's what socialism does, though. It robs from the producers. You're a producer when you own real estate and you're providing homes for people. People don't realize that's how socialism creeps in.
And the teachers were coming out, you're un-American and you're an awful person if you don't want to vote this in.
How ridiculous is that, guys?
Yeah, but those are people that just believe the books they read.
I got one more thing that really, this one thing hinges on everything we're talking about. And the economy as a whole. And I think about this a lot as I see higher energy prices coming, because energy is everything. Energy is food, energy is fuel, energy is how you heat your home, energy is everything. The price of diesel is everything. It is your food. It is the corn.
Why is that? Grain. Say it why that is. Expand on that. That one.
Okay. So I will, but keep in mind, the diesel hauls your grain. It runs the tractors. It does everything. It grows the grain you were talking about, that feeds your animals, that makes your steak, that makes your milk, that makes your eggs, that makes everything. Everything you can imagine runs off of diesel. It is the lifeblood of the whole economy. That is the most doomy thing from, legitimately, stepping way back from 30,000 foot. All you have to do is raise diesel prices where people can't afford it, and this thing goes down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like that.
But there's also been areas of the country that have had diesel shortages. And the one thing that I have is I've got a couple of oil executives that are retired and that have connections and are shareholders in different companies. And Dan, you can't use my name. Don't even use my state. But there's diesel theft like there's never been before. They're locking down diesel pumps. They have guards now at the different refineries and the different yards that sell diesel because people are stealing it because it's such a premium and there's a shortage for that.
You know what?
And that's not on the news right now the way it should be.
I got to be honest with you. That is the stupidity of the human race at a certain point. Think about this. When gasoline... Okay, let's put it this way. People don't drive across town to save $1 on a cup of coffee, but they will literally drive across town and burn fuel to save 5 cents a gallon on a gallon of gas. For some reason, gasoline has a psychological impact on human beings. And when gasoline goes up $1 or diesel goes up $1, people will risk a felony to drain a fuel tank rather than just go down and rob somebody of $900 cash. And it sounds funny. It's the same theft. They can make a lot more money doing one thing, but there's something about fuel. And that's perfect what Dan said. Just realize this. If diesel goes up or gasoline goes up exponentially because of Saudi Arabia wanting to turn off the spigot because they want to destroy our country, because they sold us to, they're now dealing with China. They're dealing with Russia. That one event could cause literally the country to fracture and human beings to just lose their minds.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, Gas Buddy is one of the most used apps out there because people care more about saving a penny or 2 or 5 cents on a gallon of gas. They'll burn more money to go get it and time in their life, but they won't literally
The
change.
lines at Costco, the lines at Sam's
Oh,
Club,
it's
to sit
insane.
there to wait for an hour to save your gas. It's like, you know,
save $5.
I dropped a video yesterday that showed people waiting in line at to charge their Teslas, and people were waiting an hour to charge their Teslas, and it's funny because what's your time worth?
You can make some money.
No,
with
what's
a
funny
diesel
is that
generator.
somebody just figured out putting a diesel generator on the back of Tesla got 1,000 miles to a gallon of diesel.
No,
So
that's right.
really, going back to Chris's point, diesel runs everything.
That's
I mean,
exactly-
yeah, like, hey, how's your wind turbine working? Well, it took a lot of diesel to put it up, to build it, to service it. I mean, he's absolutely right. Diesel runs everything, and that should be what really scares the piss out of you.
Yeah, that's the economy collapser. That's the trump card.
Yeah.
That is the thing that really drives prices up is diesel prices. So really watch energy. That is a major player. And energy is everything. A country without energy is not a country.
What do you do? Look at Sri Lanka, guys. Sri Lanka collapsed, and it's a disaster. What do people do?
Well, look at Sri Lanka's reason for collapsing. They were too dependent on other countries. Look at Germany. When Trump said, hey, you guys are way too dependent on Russian natural gas, and Angela Merkel laughed at him, and everybody, the world laughed at him. And look at where they're at now. It's hard not to laugh like Dan did earlier because this is so screwed up, but what's sad, and we're smiling at the same time, it's so easy to see the solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, guys, remember, a tremendous amount of wealth was created during all these economic downturns. And again, I've said this story before, and I've told these guys this. My girlfriend's parents, who both passed away, were the wealthiest people I've ever met. Not because of what they had, but because of what they didn't need. And these people did not need anything. They did not have debt. They did not need anything new. They would sit there and get joy from music, joy from a meal. They would celebrate my victories. They would console me in my defeats, but they were totally wealthy and the happiest people I know. And again, you know, people worry about the car they drive. The average, you know, think about this. I'll end it on this one and I'll shut up. And that is, the largest percentage of people right now have payments over $1,000 than they've ever had before to make a $1,000 car payment. Okay, and again, no one cares what you drive.
Can I ask you one thing about?
Sure.
You said they would console you. Would they rejoice with you? When
No,
you
of course, they would celebrate my victories, and everything was great. And they were.
Most. Your real friends will rejoice with you, and sometimes it's hard to get that. It's hard to get there. I've been on both sides of that, but
You're like that with me.
yeah, and I do.
Constantly.
I can genuinely do that now.
You guys are friends.
But it was a
Oh,
learned-
yeah, we really are.
It's a learned thing that,
Through
that
YouTube,
you really
like you
have
and me.
to accomplish to succeed in life because it's easy to find somebody to mourn with. It's hard to find somebody to rejoice with.
Yeah, and
Amen.
also it's easy to find people to wallow in, you know, and you need to have people that want to win. And guys, I'm telling you, the victories out there in life are great, and you can make anything. And I know so many people that have lost jobs, lost companies, and made a fortune and made a new living, a new life since the health crisis started. And I really think that there's a lot of opportunity out there. So it's not all bad, but you need to be concerned about this and take this seriously. If you think the leadership right now is going to fix it, come on, that's a joke.
Mind if I close it?
Go ahead, buddy.
Guys, you made it to the end of this video. The truth is, I hope Chris clickbaits the crap out of this video. Why? Because people need to hear this truth, what you need to fear. But you guys made it to the end of the video, and this is what you should be excited about. You're going to absolutely crush it this next year. Why? Because our hope for you is that you see all these things, you fear them, you prepare for them, and then you destroy the competition when you take advantage of the seriousness of this situation and you use it for not only your gain, but your families, your communities, and the country. That's what I got.
All right, guys. Hey, if you made it to the end, this is a really long video. This is out of the ordinary for my channel. But if you made it to the end, put hashtag I made it to the end. Or hashtag end. How about that?
The end.
Hashtag the end. Have an awesome, awesome day.
I got a good one for you.
See you guys. Economic Ninjas out.